Hey there, cats and kitties, I am the Blues Man, Johnny Blues, and with this video, we'll be discussing my thoughts on episode 9 of the anime series, Alice to Zouroku, and I think the thing that really sticks with me by the end of this episode is just how doting on and concerned for Zouroku Sana is. I absolutely love and adore their relationship, and it's just endearing to me to see just how concerned for his well-being she is, especially following on the coattails of what happened in the last episode. Hattori's power freezing everyone, Zouroku included. Sana was understandably terrified. She just fell into this family circumstance. Sanai and Zouroku love her and are taking care of her. And this is the closest to normalcy she's ever been, and she's eating it up. She's loving all of it. She's loving every moment of brushing her teeth, taking a bath, doing all the things she needs to do responsibly, and learning about being a little girl and living an average life, and trying to hold off using her powers and abilities. And with the exception of her waking up at the start of the episode and what she gets around to by the end, which is a little intriguing and questionable, this is Sana's life now, and she loves it. She's formatted to it and formatting to it and learning about it and feeling that much more comfortable, within that. And just to see that she's telling Zouroku when he goes to work, call me if anything happens. Call me if nothing happens. Just call me to let me know you're okay. And when he comes home late, she gets up out of bed and goes downstairs and just hugs him and holds him and embraces him. She's so afraid now of losing this route, this through line to reality, this new reality she has found herself surrounded by. It's just heartening, and I absolutely love and adore it. I'm smitten with this fatherly-daughterly relationship that is now burgeoned between them and is becoming solidified every step forward. And on the Hattori side of things, it's that much more intriguing because she has elected to go home, in spite of the fact that, her powers are what brought about that lie that led her to want to run away to begin with in the previous episode, as sort of instilled in her by Ayu, her friend. It's intriguing that she's now decided, even if I am the evil witch, by using these powers and continuing to use them, continuing to prolong this lie, to keep my parents together and happy, even if it goes against their will. She's kind of embraced that fear of being the evil witch, and now it's to hell with everything. I'm going to do what I need to do to just have as stable and happy a life as I can, because eventually, she calls back once again on that fairy tale about the little girl who got carried away and corrupted by that power and was burned at the stake for it, having become an evil witch. And now I think this is what Hattori suspects her own future will be. They've already had police, coming by her house because of her truancy from school. And concerns have been raised, and I think she can only but assume that her fate will be ill-fated because of the continued use of this ability. Whatever punishment she will eventually suffer, probably death, she's earned, and she's made her peace with that, at least for a time. And I'm glad that Ayu is really having reservations about this. It was somewhat of a surprise to see just how concerned he himself has become, seeing his best friend spiraling ever downwards, snowballing to her own destruction. He's young, he's very youthful, but he perceives it. He's questioning it. And what's more, he's taking steps, mulling over how to go about taking steps to help her, to reverse this, to bring his friend back. And were it not for Sana's Cheshire Cat-based intervention toward the end of the episode, he's just walking through the busy thoroughfare, retracing his steps, actually actively looking for Sana, figuring maybe because her powers seem to cancel Hattori's out, maybe this will give him a leg up to helping Hattori. suddenly there is this Cheshire Cat face that just appears before him, a trapdoor then appears underneath him, and he falls through this tunnel of books, like a library-esque tunnel, and he lands in this almost Alice in Wonderland kind of surrounding, which I love, being a fan of the original Disney Alice in Wonderland. It's one of my favorite Disney animated classics. And suddenly there is Alice herself, air quotes, Sana, pointing her finger at him and saying, "You meanie, I'm going to get you back." You know, she's been drawing all day. When Zouroku finally comes home, he has to put in an extra day of work on his day off because all the flowers got messed up because of his and his coworkers having been frozen the day previous with Hattori's power running amok. You know, when he finally gets home, he asks Sanaya, "What has Sana been doing all day?" "Well, she's been drawing." And she's like proud and laughingly saying, watch what I'm doing. And it almost kind of becomes the Doctor Who episode Fear Her. If you've never seen it, I recommend checking it out, where a little girl was by her lonesome. There was some alien intervention where she could draw pictures and people would disappear into her drawings. And I think that's kind of what Sana's doing. She's created kind of like what she did in the facility that was studying her and had contained her, that she escaped from at the start of the series. I think she has created a fantasy world, a very Alice in Wonderland-esque, fantasy world, where she can transport into it and out of it anything she wants, including herself, but it's through the portraits she has drawn. And I think this is where Ayu now finds himself transported to, where he is going to be convicted if Sana has anything to say about it, because of his involvement with Hattori. I don't think Sana is sort of aware enough that he was only kind of there with Hattori. It's not actually his ability. And so, I'm hoping that he'll speak out and raise his voice towards Sana and say, "Look, it wasn't me. And in fact, I've been looking for you to help her." And it's going to be interesting to see what they have to go through to get Sana to, win over to that side, change over to that side. Because she is so upset with Hattori. She blames her for everything, from the very first steps of, she found Zouroku frozen and all the work that he was putting in that was now subsequently lost, and all of those frazzled emotions, that conflict that's going on internally within Sana. All of these ill feelings, from the fear to the sadness to the rage, she blames all of that on Hattori, and not necessarily unfairly so. But as we see, if nothing else sticks out to us the most by the end of this episode as far as what Hattori's going through, bear in mind that Sana, the twins, and all these other characters who've had these Dream of Alice abilities, they've had some level of guidance, whether beneficial or nefarious. They've had some level of guidance. Hattori has none of that. She has no directive, no direction, no guidance whatsoever. She's absolutely owing up to all of this and forcing to move ever forward by herself. So she has no greater awareness. She doesn't, she can't think beyond the scope of what she knows in the immediate present to know that there might be help out there, that there might be better alternatives. And in fact, we see, the cat Zouroku knows from the bureau, or whatever you want to call it, and the one computer sidekick, the computer chick, checking up on Hattori's house and trying to, follow up and figure out what's going on. And at least they are aware. He's marking on his hand, kind of akin to, once again, a Doctor Who thing with the silence. These alien beings who, you would look at them and you'd be aware of them, but anytime you looked away, you'd forget. And so the heroes of the series had taken to drawing, lines, dots and dashes on their bodies to let them know, to give them a heads up and a warning that, okay, well, we're in the presence of these beings. We may not see them, we may not remember them, but okay, why am I drawing on myself? It's because there's something here. And so similarly so, do we have the guy, marking on his arm, okay, this is the 5th time we've been by this house. And he realizes at the last second, just as they're about to leave again, wait a minute, we've been had, and we keep being had by this girl's power. So, of course, they are now looking for Ayu. Ayu's been looking for Sana. Sana has Ayu, and I'm hoping all hell isn't going to break loose before we start on a better path for all of these characters involved. I hope Sana will listen to reason, that Ayu will pipe up about what, you know, he was doing. He was looking for her for the purposes of helping Hattori. And I really, genuinely, truly hope that Hattori will be helped, will be saved, in a sense, from herself. Because, again, she has no guidance. There's no direction for her. She's operating solely by herself with only what little hope remains in her own mind for her better nature. And she's just about given up on that. She thinks she's well and truly an evil witch and that she is doomed to destruction because she has given in and used this power and chosen actively to continue using it. And I can only hope for a better fate for all of them. A fate well fated enough to match Sana's own, who found herself a loving, caring family. Unfortunately, life is cruel sometimes, and we lose people and families break apart. And this is something Hattori is going to have to confront and face at some point. And so yeah, the previous episode was that much further intriguing to me because it was the introduction of Hattori and Ayu and her powers, and seeing Sana's ire being raised for that terror, for that fear, for that sadness. And whereas this one was not nearly as intriguing, it was still engaging to me from those perspectives of loving seeing how much Sana has care and concern for Zouroku, how much she loves and relishes this family life that she has now been gifted with, especially coming out of that facility, you know, and being poked and prodded and studied, manipulated, and all those things. And to see just how terrorizing internally Hattori's life is. And the tragedy of her having no guidance, no alternative, but her own assumption that she's destined for that destruction. It's tragic. It's heartbreaking. But it's not like she's evil. She's not evil like she thinks she is, and she deserves better. And I really hope that is brought about as the episodes continue on. So I'd love to hear from you guys in the comments below. If you've seen episode 9 of Alice to Zouroku as well, you know, what your impressions were on it. Do you agree with me that Hattori is someone to be saved rather than punished like she herself thinks, and Sana, at least operating right now, believes should happen? Were you surprised that her friend Ayu actually kind of pseudo turned against her, but for her well-being? You know, he's pointedly looking towards Sana, looking for her in the pursuit of helping Hattori, you know, trying to reach her better graces and help her break away from this ability that is poisoning her soul and troubling her soul. Were you surprised that he had such a character turn? And what do you make of, were you as shocked as I was when he's just standing in the midst of this thoroughfare and suddenly the Cheshire Cat head appears before him, evilly grins, and then how about Sana's overacting there with the laugh, hut, 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 pointing her finger? I was dying with that. Like, what is she doing, man? Were you surprised about all of that? Let me know what you thought about this episode. Love it or hate it. Anything goes in the comments below. Just love having that conversation. And I can't wait to see where we go from here. So, yeah. Otherwise, that'll be pretty much it for me on this. Hope this video finds you well. And I'll catch you all later. Peace.